Yes, yes,
You have to
yes.
do
Bit of
this.
yoga. Is that one? Morning, everybody. How are you? Has anybody meditated this morning? Has anybody exercised this morning?
I've done something else that begins with M and ends in D.
Mark, don't. Has anybody done anything to improve their mental or physical health so far this morning?
I've taken ADHD and bipolar drugs. I think that's kind of a direct answer. I've drunk water. I'm on my second coffee.
So in an ideal world, what do you think would have been better for us to do this morning than what most of us have done?
Have a shower together.
Here. Shower together.
That's almost as stressful as laundry.
Podcast. You have to listen to the podcast that we did yesterday. Actually, it's as a video here as well, where we talked about
listen
laundry.
To you, 1980s.
Laundry. I've had so many messages about that. You know, saying, "Oh God, thank you, Nadia, for saying exactly."
No, I haven't had any. I was gonna say, we tried getting in a bath together the other week, and it was so awkward, wasn't it?
No, I didn't find it awkward.
I did.
I didn't because...
With your bottom in my face, it was quite awkward.
Right, okay, now let's stop. Let's move on. Apple crumble. So what I wish I had done this morning was I wish I had gone out, still haven't been out there, and taken just even 5 deep breaths.
Right.
And then maybe, because it's cold, sat this side of the doors, we've got our garden there, and just meditated for 3 or 4 minutes, not even like 10 or 15.
Right. Yes, a sort of a minimal gesture.
Done a couple of stretches and a bit of jumping up and down, because that simple thing that would, in a whole, take about 10 minutes makes all the difference to my day. Some days I do it, some days I don't. But I just am fascinated by how we won't let ourselves do it. It's funny, isn't it? How we just won't take the time. I sometimes on my Instagram will just put a poll up on, are you doing anything for yourself today?
What sort of poll? I thought you meant a poll.
No, and so often it's no. Most people say no. They're not going to do a single thing for their mental or physical health that day. Solely for them.
Haley Toledo in Spain says, morning guys, shout out for 5-day detox, getting off opioid.
Oh, wow.
Finding it hard, but getting through another 24 hours. Yay, thanks for being there.
Oh, 1 day at a time, 1 minute at a time. You can do it. 18 years.
Yeah.
18 years. You can do it.
And thank you for all your comments underneath the post I put on Instagram. I'm still recovering from a night not that long ago where I got 1 hour's sleep, so I do apologise. Lama, I've seen your post. We will sing you happy birthday at the end. I presume you're Laura. So there we go. Happy birthday anyway, though.
Happy birthday.
Doing some willow weaving. Who's doing willow weaving?
Oh, now that's
Ellery
good for
Jones.
yourself. Ellery, that's so good. And Rachel Bowden, I feel very uncomfortable doing anything for myself. Don't know why.
I get like that.
Where does that come from?
Guilt.
My CBT counsellor 8 years ago said she thinks it's the single worst thing to live with is guilt. She said, She said you have to let go and let the love into yourself.
That's the single
worst
thing.
But it is hard. It is
worst
hard.
thing. That's why I live with it.
So today we're going to be talking about Meghan and Harry. Meghan's annoyed about something.
Or is she?
So they say. Shamima Begum. She's supposed to hear today whether she can come back or not.
Very much a hot potato that people are divided. I'm going to ask a question
So
on that
divided.
now, so that we've got a bit of a poll.
Madeleine McCann's quest. There is a young woman who believes quite passionately that she is Madeleine McCann. We're going to be talking about that. And J.K. Rowling. And grey hair.
A lot.
I'm there. See, when I see that, I hate that. When I catch sight of it, like from the back, like the other day, me and Dina were walking along, and she was a bit behind me. I turned around and she was going like this, and I thought it was somebody that we hate was walking towards us or something.
Couldn't bear your
or
head.
I was about to, no, she was saying, showing really badly in the back, because it just looks at when I see myself, I always say to Mark, tell me, because I don't, when I see myself with that white hair at the back, I hate it. Grey hair. So we're going to talk about that. So have a think about what you feel about that.
Yeah, is it the same? Because isn't it funny how, if you want a small example of how things are different for men and women, Women, by and large, who go grey are sort of thought, well, are seen
we
as
fight it.
old, are
We
thought
fight
of
it,
as kind of letting go,
Yeah.
kind of handing yourself over to age. Whereas men who go grey are called silver foxes.
Yeah, and gorgeous, and it sprinkles in just the right places.
Pepper. Is it called pepper?
And salt and pepper.
Why is it
all
called
of it.
salt?
Well, let's just do hair now because we've sort of started it. Let's do it now. We're in it. It
let's
felt
have a- let's have a
natural.
think about that.
That's the great thing about doing this here and not on telly is that we can just do it however we
Okay, well, let's talk about grey
Saying
hair.
that, I'm back on Loose Women on Friday. We've been filming a couple of series for YouTube, so I've had a few weeks off. But I'm back on Friday with Carol, Jane, and Kay, the OGs. So it will be good fun.
Ellery Jones and Martina McCann, that's incredibly lovely of you. You get more memberships. You've got to stop, guys.
Oh,
it's so sweet and it's so kind.
I love that.
But you know, come on, guys, you're doing a
just
lot. You're
generosity
doing a
like
lot.
that is
So
lovely.
sweet. Here's the story. Helen Mirren, I think she was at the Berlin Film Festival yesterday for the film Gilda, which is based on the fourth Israeli president. Is it Golda? No, Golda or Gilda.
Golda.
And you know, let's put to one side all of the kind of controversy around whether a non-Jewish, non-Israeli actress should have been cast to play an Israeli prime minister. It's directed. Yeah, she does. It's directed by a Jewish director. So anyway, go to the Popcorn Junkies Instagram account where we discuss that. But yeah, so the topic is, with Emma Thompson, Jamie Lee Curtis and Helen Mirren having been on the red carpets recently, they've gone silver.
And they all look fabulous.
They do.
I mean, they do.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, plenty of people do look amazing. But I can think of somebody who's a friend of somebody else I know. And the first time I met her, I just assumed she was like, I just did that thing, that character. Oh, she's like 60, you know. And then the next time I met her, because I only met her briefly each time, she was talking about her period and how she's perimenopausal.
Seen it impossible, Prince.
Perimenopausal.
Right.
And I thought, oh my God, how old is she? She's still perimenopausal. Because I thought maybe late 50s, tipping 60. That's what I just calculated in my head. Anyway, I asked this other friend of mine, and she was like 42. But she had totally grey hair.
Right.
And then I looked at her the next time I saw her a bit more in detail, and actually her face was totally that of a 40, more of a 40-year-old. Now, whether we like it or not, we live in a society where age is not celebrated, right? And we are all trying to fight the fact that we hate looking older, so many of us are, not all, because we know that we've been dictated to that looking older it somehow equals something negative, which of course it doesn't, but it's in my head. I am prejudiced. I am ageist against myself. I am completely ageist against myself. I just go into a panic. Because I think when I caught myself, like a few weeks ago, I filmed something in the gym, and it was me trying again to do a press up. And I couldn't use any of it because I had this great big circle of grey hair. And I was like, oh my God, I think it's the thing I'm most vain about.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, colour of your hair.
Well, it's
I
about
remember
that,
when I
because
met
I
you.
think because I'm going to be really, really honest now, really honest, and I'm embarrassed about this, being a feminist, being a woman's woman. When I saw it, I felt, and sometimes when Mark's filmed me for the vlog from behind, and I've seen that, and I'm like, I feel repulsed. Like, I feel like, oh my God, I look a bit weak. I look a bit, isn't that
Weak?
awful?
Vulnerable.
I'm trying to be really honest. I then, of course, talk myself and go, what the hell are you doing? Why are you thinking of yourself like? But that's where I go to first.
Do you feel-
First thought is that.
Do you feel elderly?
Yes.
Yeah, because that word's kind of...
I feel elderly. And I feel panic-stricken.
You don't look elderly because you're generally wearing lingerie.
No, but I'm talking about the internal ageism
No,
that I
I agree.
have around grey and white hair.
Zoe cries when she sees one grey hair. My sister went white and she looks amazing. Someone else here said they tried growing their hair grey, but because of their pale skin, it looked odd. Oh, here we go. Is it? Oh, no. Alison Barber started going grey in my 20s. I have thin hair, hate it, hate it, hate it.
And of course, when you go grey, it makes it look even more. It makes it look even thinner, doesn't it? So you can almost look like you've got like bald patches. I mean, you know, when I go to that, you can see that it looks almost like balding. Then because I've got this thinning hair, I don't know. I just get panic stricken about it. But also, I'm not somebody that's doing my roots every 5 minutes.
No, Laura Lou, I think grey hair looking good depends on the shade of grey. I know what you mean. Some are silvery, some are... as a man, I don't think anything of it, but I suppose if I'm...
Yes, what do you think when you see that grey patch? I want you to be honest. I've just been really honest. I want you to be honest.
The first thought I think is Nadia's going to hate that.
Well,
That's
can
my
you
first
tell
thought.
me next time?
Babe.
It's your fault.
Babe, hang on a minute, it's not my fault. If I'm filming, you're not going to be able to do anything about it.
Yes,
there
I
and-
am.
There
I'm going
and
to,
then,
I'm
in the
going,
middle of filming.
I'm going to get something and I'm going to do this.
Oh, I didn't realise there were things you could
There
do.
are things we can do.
Okay, all right, calm down. Bloody hell. But when I see someone with grey... Okay, let's be brutally honest. If I see a woman with grey hair...
No, I want you to tell me, when you see me as being 7 years younger than me, be honest. Does a part of you think, oh my God, she's getting old? Honest?
Well,
Yeah,
no, hang on,
he does.
No, you're saying it in a certain way. Oh my God. No, I don't think, oh my God, she's getting old. I think, oh, she's getting old. But it doesn't put me off you. But going back to what I was about to say, if I see someone with grey hair, and I'm not saying that this is even a personal conscious thing, I think it's a societal thing and it's inherited sort of attitudes. I think
Say it.
they've entered a last chamber room of life.
Oh my God. Give me a
But-
pen, I need to write that time.
But it doesn't mean it is. And I think
So
once
when
get,
you see-
when you first see it, you think old.
So when you
You
see
do,
my
you
grey
think,
patch,
oh.
you think, oh, she's entered the last chamber of life.
No.
Yeah, that's what he said. You heard it.
I
It's
know,
recorded.
no. If I see someone with grey, I mean, for example, I don't
I
want
was right to hate
I
that
don't want to name it. I worked with a very famous actress years ago who was about 72 when I filmed it. In fact, here's a good one. I filmed with Lauren Bacall, and when I filmed with her, she had her hair up and she was grey, and she was beautiful.
Yeah.
She was beautiful.
But it's that's what I mean. Really beautiful women look amazing when
And
they're
as did this other actress,
just
I don't want to name.
like
'cause
slopping round Asda's, you know, with our patches at the back, you know, like, because don't be fooled. When these women are walking down the red carpet with fabulous hair, it's like makeup art. My friend makeup artist
Yeah.
said to me, there is so much that's gone on to that hair.
Right.
They put
Product.
lights, there's colouring. You don't just let your hair go grey.
So if they were, right. So it's fraudulent grey.
No, it's not fraudulent, but they've had a bit of
Oh
touching
yeah, well
up.
you can see with Jamie Lee Curtis, you can see with Emma Thompson. She's had layers of colour put in. Okay, a bigger. I tell you what, I don't know
It's
if
the
you,
length.
Oh, hang on. Yeah, no, this was the biggest. I saw this story just because I'm following the Berlin Film Festival, and I saw that more commentators were commenting on the length of her hair and having her hair down. If you go online and look up Helen Mirren Berlin Film Festival, you'll see her with long hair. And if I'm really honest, can I be honest? I don't like it.
I don't like it.
If I'm honest.
I mean, this is
shouldn't.
ageism again, and
It
it's
is.
good to look at our internal ageism.
I don't
and
think she shouldn't do it.
I don't like it. I think, but that is because I've been told so often that women aren't supposed to have long hair past a certain age.
Someone just said grey does drain your hair, the colour from your skin.
Well, that's why this makeup artist friend of mine was saying they do put other lights and colours into it. So there's different shades of grey and maybe some blonde. So to just go grey is harsh.
Yeah, I mean,
White is lovely.
I think for men it's curious. I mean, I get grey around the sides. The greyest part of my body is when I've sort of got stubble. It's totally grey here. Have you noticed that?
Weird. And you get
Just
eyebrows that go grey.
And I've also got a grey ear here.
Guess what I had the
Ear
other day,
hair.
guys?
What?
This was shocking. I have a grey eyelash.
I thought you were going to say something else. Grey pubes. I thought you were going to say grey pubes.
Stop now.
Do pubes go grey?
Stop. Right, moving on because we spent too long on this.
I think it's a good topic.
Move on.
I think we should stick with it. Can I have my pen back? Thank you very much. Okay, well, that was our slightly light-hearted story. Okay, we're not doing the China story, are we? No.
No, but we'll do that tomorrow. It's really good.
Okay, boring. Okay, so South Park, the irreverent cartoon animation, which,
Get a cup of tea.
as Maddie rightly says, in a sense roasts or has roasted so many. Roast means you sort of comedically pull someone down, but it's kind of, it's not even necessarily affectionately done, but it's just you get a roasting, you get sort of, turned over and have the piss taken out of you. So many famous people have been featured in South Park, like they get featured in The Simpsons or what have you. Anyway, a fictional pair or couple appeared in an episode of South Park that are quite clearly meant to be Harry and Meghan. Meghan's wearing a dress she wore to an event, same colour dress that she went to an event, and of course the male character is Ginger with a beard and moustache.
Can you see them?
They're there.
Oh yeah, it's definitely supposed
Definitely them. And the episode was called, which is kind of funny, The World Privacy Tour.
Oh.
Inherently contradictory, obviously, as they went to promote their book, which was called Wah! In one shot from the cartoon, the couple step off a plane carrying signs reading, "Stop looking at us, and we want our privacy." Placards that they want to be seen. And then, of course, we went into this thing where the press said there were reports that they were upset, they were angry. There were even reports that they were going to take legal action, that their lawyers were looking at it.
But is it true?
Well, no, not necessarily. There had been reports that they were going to, but a spokesperson for the couple have said that these reports are all frankly nonsense and totally baseless and boring, which, if I'm honest, you never know. They might have watched it and had a sense of humour about it. You never know.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because I think, the things that they've done, mind you, a friend of mine who was very much on Harry's side has just finished the book.
And?
Oh my God.
More cringe than cringe.
Oh my God.
Oh, right.
She said, I have zero sympathy for him now. She said, privileged, head in the clouds. She said she was quite shocked how.
I mean, I think what this goes to the heart of is an ability to laugh at yourself, doesn't it?
But
we don't know. I mean, I suppose the thing I'm trying to say is a lot of the papers are trying to suggest one thing, but we have no way of knowing.
When I saw the story yesterday, I did not believe for 1 second that they had got angry about this. This kind of roasting in the celebrity world is a...
De rigueur.
Is a compliment. Because, darling, there's only one thing worse than being spoken about, and that's not being spoken about, as Oscar Wilde said.
That's a good point.
So I think, and Harry is such a josher, isn't he? I said to you last night, I just don't believe it. I think that's the old medium.
The old narrative.
Again.
So again, could we be feeling a little bit of anti-Meghan press here? In the episode, Meghan is described as a sorority girl, actress, influencer, and victim. The Duchess is heard saying in the animation, if we moved here, people would think we're really serious about wanting to be normal. So, as you say, it's a roasting. But I mean, can you laugh at yourself? It's quite, I think it's quite a nice aspect or characteristic to someone who can laugh at themselves. I mean, you say, what's your dad's line on this? Doesn't your dad say something? Be with a man or be with someone who can laugh at themselves?
Yeah, my dad's always said that. You have to be able to laugh at yourself.
I don't think he said it that
straightforwardly. His line is, unless you can take the piss out of each other every day, your marriage will not survive.
Right.
And I think there's something in that. I think you can go too far in a relationship where it becomes a bit like a brother and sister, where every single thing you're picking up on and taking the piss out of. And sometimes we have to correct that with ourselves, because I think, you have to be careful with that. But I think it's so important to be able to have people say shit to you. Because if you only can say shit to others, then it becomes very frustrating.
But it's a fine line between roasting and, I suppose, trolling in a sense, because as someone here just said,
the thing is,
look, YT user says, if you've got PTSD trauma about the themes in the South Park film, I don't think you can laugh at it. It depends how close you cut to the,
I don't think we can be too specific here, because of course there's always going to be, individual reasons why. But I just think as a general rule, I think roasting and banter can tip into bullying either on purpose or with the person with no intention of doing that whatsoever.
Right, they just take it
Things
too
can
far.
get out of hand. So obviously South Park is that big style, and people have learned. It's a bit like Spitting Image. They said,
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to take it as a compliment.
and you've got,
with
and
South Park,
it is a compliment, because they look to the most famous people in the world and they take the piss. But I think in life, I get really nervous around banter and roasting and all these things, because I think.
Well, it's used as it's definitely used as bullying in schools. It's not.
But I do think a lot of people don't realise that they're bullying. You know, like even kids. Well, it's banter. You know, it's like that. Oh, I was only joking. It's like say something awful and then say, I was only joking, because you can try and work out how that person feels. And then if they're pissed off with you, you can go, God, what's wrong with you? It's only joking. That is really painful sometimes.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So maybe they're feeling a bit of that. We don't know, because we don't know. You can never say categorically unless somebody's made an official statement.
Yeah, it's all speculation. It's all speculation, and it's speculation that they, you know, the papers and the news kind of websites want to fuel the agenda or the opinion on them that's going to get people to click more. And you're going to click more if you think she's upset, rather than, oh, she loves it.
And just a little behind the scenes on that. This is how it works with the papers. So, say today the papers want to write something that is totally untrue, right?
Friday, Donna Pratt.
Say about me something that was just ridiculous. For instance, remembering I'm just a Z-list TV presenter. I'm not holding myself up as these people, but all advice is always to just say nothing, right? So something totally correct or totally awful could be said, but you always say nothing, because the rule is whatever you say will be used again for the next bit of the story. So by somebody not saying something doesn't mean they agree with it, doesn't necessarily mean they're guilty of it. It's just people in the know that's what the papers need to fuel the fire.
The problem, I've said this many times before, the problem with saying anything about anything, and I don't even mean about denying a story about you, but the problem with saying anything about anything, the person you're saying it to, if they're anti you, always has the option to run towards what you haven't said.
Yeah.
And so, of course, there are so many things that you can't say at the same time as saying one thing. So there's always something that someone can home in on and say something about. And in a sense, sometimes, I think even when you say nothing, people try and read into that.
It. So that's why so many very famous people just have an absolute stock thing that they never, ever refer to anything, because once they start, then it's got to be this.
But see, YT user also silence is consent. But I don't necessarily agree. To remain quiet tacitly confirms that what they said is correct. Because as I say, whatever is said, if let's call it the news agenda or the banter agenda of someone that is being said to, they will find a way around it. I mean, I'm using this analogy. I know someone who is so dead set on wanting to feel aggrieved and outside of things, that if I was to say, or someone was to say to them something like, I could never not stay in touch with you. I just couldn't not be in touch with you, which is saying I want to be in touch with you constantly, they would home in on the word not and say, but not? Yeah. You don't want to. And it's
literally anything can be twisted. So honestly, when these famous people don't say anything, it's because you can get in your knickers even more in a twist.
Okay, anyway, let's move on to Shamima Begum. This is. Can I be really honest about this story, just quickly?
She won't. They won't give her it. She won't.
What's the story? What's happening today?
Well, she will find out today whether she can come back to the UK or not. Right. Because at the moment she's stateless. Her father's Pakistani. She can't go to Pakistan because they've been told that she will immediately be put to death.
And what is the main reason? I mean, the vast majority of people here think she shouldn't come back. What's the main reason for her coming back?
Well, she's in a refugee camp. She's stateless. You're not supposed to take away a person's passport,
right, so
are you, and make them
stateless?
Rights. A person is that country's responsibility. I really urge people to listen to this incredible podcast, I Am Not a Monster. People got so irritated about this. Why should she have a platform? Why should she be allowed? It's not that. It's a very, very good investigative journalist who has been tracking the story right from the beginning and picking every single thing she says to pieces. It's fascinating.
I tell you what,
I get so excited every Wednesday because it comes out and I want to hear the next bit of the story.
When I originally heard the whole story, it's really weird. I had quite a strong response to this, and I thought she absolutely shouldn't come back. And then I started to sort of interrogate that and think to myself, well, of course, what she's done is terrible. What she did, she was extraordinarily young. We can't pretend this wasn't some kind of grooming. But of course, huge numbers of people feel that she was a very bright young person. She made choice. I mean, you've been telling me about the abuse she's experienced and all that kind of stuff. But then the part of this I don't really understand is we have people in prison. We have people in prison in this country for crimes that are far worse. So what I don't understand is if she was to come back, because I guess the worry is that she's going to be radicalised again, right? She's going to be that she could sow the seeds of discontent if she came here. Is that the idea? What is the danger from her?
I think it was always a PR thing.
What?
We're not allowing her to come back. It looks like somehow we're dealing.
Right. Okay.
We're dealing with radicalisation. We're dealing with all of that. And
see, a couple of people saying she poses a risk.
There's literally so many people posing a risk. And I think what we need to do is understand that. Because if we just say, la, 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 she has incredible amounts of information. Now, I'm not saying she shouldn't go to prison. I think she is our responsibility. She's British. And I think that she should be brought back here. And I think they should get all the information that she has. We need to understand how and why people get radicalised, because she's almost been a distraction from the fact that people are being radicalised constantly across the country. And I'm not just talking about ISIS, I'm talking about the far greater risk actually is the far right. When you hear about the radicalisation, I've listened to some
but that's what I'm saying.
So I think she's been held up as the poster girl to the government doing something about radicalisation and about terrorism. Yeah. And I think we've passed that point. So I do think if a 15-year-old does something, and when you listen to this podcast, it's so fascinating, honestly, listen and just see if it makes you think in a different way. I think it's called
I Am Not a Monster.
I Am Not a Monster. It's on BBC Sounds. I truly believe that a 15-year-old is a child. I do believe a 15-year-old child. What I'm gathering from the podcast is that she was definitely brought up in a very enclosed environment. She was extremely, her life was very controlled, and she knew actually very little about the truth of stuff. And this guy doesn't let her off the hook. You know what the other thing about Shamima is she tells, when she talks, she doesn't pretty anything up. And this has created such hate as well.
She's quite calm.
Yeah.
I think that's considered to be sort of almost evil.
Cold. And because the thing is, you said there are people that have done things that are a lot worse, but actually at this point, we don't know everything that she has done.
No, absolutely. I'm not debating that.
But I think what it is I think people imagine, it's so emotional for us, isn't it? What ISIS have done and the absolute barbarism and the beheadings and all these things that I feel, and I don't know if anyone else thinks this, that we kind of put all that into her as the figurehead of all that was so evil and all that's so terrible. And I just think we just have to question that a bit and question. I'm not saying definitely I think she should come back, but I do think we can't just go, no, that's it. This camp is filled with thousands of people with no purpose. What do we think we're breeding in those camps? That's what I think. That's what I want.
Okay, you know, I think an eye has to be kept on her, and I in a weird way, I think my feeling on this is a purely practical one. It's not about bringing her back. I think what's happened here is there's this idea that if she comes back, she's somehow sort of being anointed and told it's all good and it's all
given
fine.
a job.
But what I think, in a sense, should happen a little bit more is that you keep those who are dangerous a little bit closer to you, so that you can keep a little eye on them. Because I think you're right. I think isn't there the danger if she's in a camp that other people could be radicalised because of what's happening to her, courtesy of the West and what have you. I mean, someone here says, Patty Degnan, who sees a decapitated head and says she didn't feel anything, that tells you about her personality. I suppose we'll never know to what extent she has been numbed due to the grooming and all of that sort of stuff.
Well, there was a quote today from somebody that says, you could be groomed, you could be traumatised, you could be abused, you could be desensitised, and you could still be dangerous. So I think that's a very important thing to remember, because I do believe she's been groomed. I do believe she's been abused. I do believe all these things, but I also believe she still could be a danger because of all those things, if nothing else. And I just think, just on a wider thing, what are we going to do with these thousands of people that are just in a camp? I mean, do we not think that's a radicalising breeding?
Yeah, but I don't think anyone would suggest that we bring them all here. I think what we're talking about is, I mean, I think also there are strict things here, legal things as well. I think, you know, she is British. Why do we expect anyone else to deal with her? There's that aspect. I also think I also think if she was white, I'd be curious to know the extent to which there would be the same amount of hatred. I think she presents as quite, I mean, I've not seen too much, I've seen a few interviews with her. And look, I came from the perspective of thinking, good God, she's awful. I mean, you know, I really was kind of like, no, she shouldn't be. That's probably going to knock us out of sync, isn't it? Let me just do this to prevent it. I just had a phone call. Anyway, I just think if she does come back, she has to be kept an eye on, looked after, and all that kind of stuff.
She will serve a sentence. I mean, I think she will definitely go to prison. But does anybody think that she has valuable information? Because I do. I think we have to understand how and why people get radicalised. Because otherwise, we are just simply putting a huge sticking plaster over a problem that just keeps growing, you know.
Jackie Villino, let her come back but lock her up. Do you remember her attitude towards the Birmingham bombing? Yeah, I mean, again, I think...
She has that 1,000-mile stare, doesn't she?
Yeah,
just like,
and I do think she needs to be kind of looked after in some... When I say looked after, I mean, you know, sort of, you know, restricted in some way. I mean, absolutely. I mean,
you see, you know when you see these poor children that are forced into being in the army, you know, you see them, don't you? These little children with these guns, and you see that what they call the 1,000-mile stare. And I think it was a war photographer that I was reading this article, and they said nothing scares them more.
No.
I
worked with a guy at National Geographic, and he was a presenter, reporter, and when I started working with him, he'd just come off the back of a job in Africa working with child soldiers, and he'd been in all sorts of war zones around the world, all sorts of conflicts, and he said there was nothing scarier than a child walking up to me with a gun, because he said you felt that their moral compass, you know, they hadn't even made a choice. They were programmed.
Exactly. So desensitisation, all these things that fascinate me. It fascinates me. I never just want to go about anything. Well, it just seems too easy to just go, she's an evil cow and that's it. She never comes back. What drives this? And I do think, you know, multiple babies lost. And if you think about that, if you think she was married off within 10 minutes of meeting somebody when she got there, and then she's pregnant, and then all of that is trauma, right? So that could, don't know, maybe she's just pure evil, I don't know. Yeah. But I think there's questions to be asked.
Just moving on, because we're strapped for time. Madeleine McCann's story. What do you think, guys? I've just asked you. Do you think this girl is her? I mean, obviously we have no way.
How can we?
But what's your hunch? She's got a fleck in the eye. The latest part of the story is she's saying she has a freckle in the same place on the leg. I feel sorry for the parents in this.
I feel sorry for her. I feel sorry for the fact that people are going to use and abuse this story around her. And I think, can you even imagine how this feels for Madeleine McCann's parents?
God, I mean...
To have a flicker of hope. I'm sure they're being, I'm sure they're very pragmatic about it and just like, but whichever way you look at it, this is a huge story.
Yeah.
It's a huge story, isn't it? Because, this story captured so many of our hearts. I know lots of people have lots of other theories. My theory is just one thing. I do not believe the McCanns did anything to their child. I believe she was kidnapped. And if this could be a moment, Jesus Christ. I am fascinated. I mean, my gut, I don't feel it's going to be. I think that
there was some curious sort of, what was the person online who was sort of talking about it? Some sort of,
I think there's various people like
I worry that there are people in the back rooms,
situation.
exploiting this. But I do think it's one of those simple stories, isn't it? Get a DNA test done. But of course, the thing about it that kind of, makes me sort of go, oh God, is imagine the hope and then imagine it not being the case. And she's quite remarkable. If you actually look at a photograph of her alongside her father, there is quite a similarity there.
I mean, lots of people saying, hey, we'll just get the DNA, end off. But of course, remember that the McCanns have to agree to that DNA test.
Well, Zoe says the age doesn't match up.
Yes,
but
she says,
arithmetic.
no, but she says, doesn't she, that she thinks that they were wrong because she was adopted. So
there could be some slippage there.
I think that this young woman believes it. It feels like from the bits and pieces that she's very...
And if she isn't, I feel sorry for her.
I feel really sorry for her. I feel really, really sorry for her. I feel sorry for everyone in it. And again, I feel sorry for all those people that have missing people because it brings it all to the fore. But it's definitely a very interesting situation because if it turns out that she is, like you say, if it turns out she isn't, everyone will just move on. But if she is, this is going to literally be the story of
the year.
The
decade, the century.
The last 2 decades,
Okay, we are strapped for time now. We were going to talk J.K. Rowling. We'll possibly pick that up tomorrow. We were also going to talk about how China are giving newly married couples, 30 days paid leave. We'll talk about that tomorrow as well. I also wanted to just share the fact that in Japan on a beach, a mysterious sphere has appeared on the beach. No one really understands what it is. So that's curious. I think obviously with all the UFO speculation, go online and look up Japanese sphere on beach.
And also, please, guys, listen to I Am a Monster. I just would love... to the podcast on BBC Sounds. There's a series before it as well of another American woman that went over to ISIS. It's just absolutely fascinating. Like when you get a page to turn a book, it's like that.
Yeah. Some birthdays. Lama or Laura.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Laura. Happy birthday to you.
Impossible Princess. I love your name.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Impossible Princess. Happy birthday to you.
And Corshi's Adventure.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Corshi's Adventure. Happy birthday to you. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. We'll see you tomorrow.
And go and check out the lingerie chat.